Hello, welcome to this video where we'll explore how to use the Jest package to have a better JavaScript interview session. Jest is a popular JavaScript testing framework that allows you to write automated tests for your codebase. Imagine you are in a job interview. A lot of times you will have coding tasks like factorial, palindrome, fizzbuz, and etc. You write the code and you think it's correct, but then the interviewer points out a bug and you're left scrambling to fix it and the interview doesn't go well. But what if you had used Jest to write automated tests for your code before the interview? Jest would have caught the bug before the interview and you could have fixed it, and that's the power of Jest. So let's take a look at how to use Jest in your interview preparation session. This is the website of jest.js.io and this is the official document of it, and you can see here in the docs how we can use this great framework, and we can install it using npm install jest, and then we create a file for our code, for example sum.js, and we create a new function and export it, and also we create a new file for the test file, for example sum.test.js, and we write our tests. And the test is something like this. We have a test that has a label and also have another arrow function which is a callback here, and it expects something to be something. And then in package.json we add this script test which we'll call the jest, and then using yarn test or npm test we can run the test and see the result. So let's do this. In first step we create a new folder with any name. For example I say jest sample, and that's it. I open this in VS Code, and because I want to use npm packages I open a new terminal to initialize my project. I say npm init-y and press enter. Okay, now I have a package.json file here and you can see it, and that's it. So I need to install package. So I say npm I jest to install the jest. That's installed and you can see it here. The jest is installed. And also I need to use another package to help me have some types of jest. So I say npm I @types/jest. And let's install this package also here. Okay, that's good. You can see that I have two dependencies in this project, jest and @types/jest, and that's good. The next step is to change this test script here, and you can see that it is this. If I say npm run test or npm test, you can see the result is exactly this string echo something, but we need to use jest here. So this time if I run this, you can see that it will use jest, and that's it. We don't want to work with this right now and we will continue this. So let's close this. The first part is to create a new file. For example, let's stick to the official example, for example sum.js, and here we have an arrow function sum equals to this arrow function, and we will export this module.exports equals to sum. So this would be our codes to test. And the next thing is we need a sum.test.js, and here we need to use some new contents. The first thing is describe, and describe is some sort of grouping when you can group some of your tests together and have a shared label for them, and I will show you this. So let's say that I need to have a describe. The first thing in describe is a name, which you can see that it's can be simply a string. I say general tests, and the next thing is a function. I use an arrow function here, and here I need to use some tests. And here you saw that test is something like this. Test is a function that has a label and also a function that will be run as our test. So I will do this. I create a new test here. So this is the next concept we need to work with, and I say a test. This test has a label or a name. I say that it should be defined, and the next thing is a function for this test, and we expect something dot to be something else. This is the popular way to test anything. For example, I want to have this sum here, so I will say that expect my sum dot to be defined, and this is our first test. So let's do this and see what's the result. I say npm run test, and I want to test this sum.test.js, and let's see the result if it's working or not. Okay, and you can see that we have this test that is failed, and it says that one failed. Let's see what's the result. You can see that here in general tests we have this it should be defined. So it says that in general tests, this is the describe, and the next thing is it should be defined. It is the test label. So we have this error, reference error, sum is not defined, and this is our first test result. And we had you can see that we have failing test, so we need to pass this test. Let's do this. The first thing is I need to import this sum from here. I need to import it. I say const sum equals to require dot slash sum, and let's format our document. Okay, now let's test again to see the result. Okay, you can see that our test is passed, and that's good. So the first test is passed. You can see that in general tests, which is our describe, we have this test that is passed. It should be defined. Let's see another test here inside of this describe, which is general tests. So this was the first one. I will minimize this test. I say this is test 1, and also I need to have another test here. So I need another test. I say that it should be a function. This is not a really high demand test, but I just want to show you that how we can do some sort of test. So I say that it should be a function, and as its callback function, I say that I expect the type of the sum dot to be, the type should be a function. And let's format document and see the result again. Okay, now you can see that what is the describe. This is the describe label general tests, and inside of it we have two different tests. It should be defined, which is passed, and it should be a function, which is passed. Let me show you that. Instead of this function, if I say it is a string, is it true or not? And you can see that it fails, and it expected the string, but it received a function. And this is it. Let's undo this and run again. Okay, now we have these two tests which is passed, and that's good. Let's delete, close this, and this is our first describe. Let's have another describe here. I say that describe. This time, this is the functionality tests, and inside of this describe I need to have some different tests. For example, I need a test as a label. We said it should return, for example, 5 for sum of 2 and 3. This is the label, and let's add an arrow function here, and we say that I expect the test of for example 2 and 3 dot to be 5. Let's format document, and let's see what is going on right now. Here I will say npm run test sum.test.js again, and let's see the result. Okay, now you can see that we have 3 total tests, 2 of them are passed and 1 is failed. And let's see what happens here. You can see that in general tests, these 2 tests are passed, that's good. But in the functionality tests, this test is failed, it should return 5. And let's see what happened. Invalid second argument 3, it must be a callback function. And what is going here? Let me show you this. Oh, this is the problem. I should use sum here and for my document. You can see that it easily got my error and bug, and that's really a good way of showing how this Jest is working. So let's see you after finishing and correcting this bug, we see that this test is failed again, but this time we have something else. Expect received of something to be something, and you can see that we expected 5 but we received undefined, and that's good. Let's go to the sum and see what's the problem, and you can see that yes, this is the problem. We should have the a and b as our input, and inside of this we should return a plus b. And for my document, now let's see the result of this test again, and you can see that it passed, and that's really good. So let's add another test, and we say that I will copy this because this time it is really similar to this, and I say that it should return 1000 for sum of 400 and 600. So I say that expects the sum of, let's copy this from here, I expect the sum of this to be 1000. And let's run it again, npm run test sum.test.js, and you can see that we passed some of them. We passed 4 tests, and that's good. Now let's see how we can do this some different ways. Let's say that I want to test that. Let's copy this again, and it should not return, for example, 1000 for sum of let's say 1 and 2. This is a test I want to test. So, and I say that the sum of 1 and 2 should not return 1000. So this time we say that instead of this, we can say that expect this function that is sum of this dot not dot to be 1000. And you can see that it is really clear, and we say that expect of something dot not dot to be 1000. Let's see this, npm run test, and you can see that it passed, and that's good. Let me show you how we can have a better experience of working with Jest. You can see a flag which is dash dash watch all, and this time I will run my tests again. Let me show you, and you can see that it is watching to our changes, and it says that press F to run only failed tests and some of them, and press enter to trigger a test run. So this time let's create a new test, and this time let's say that it should return, for example, 10 for sum of 9 and 1, and you can see that it is running with our chains, and that's good. And we say that expect the sum of 9 and 1 dot. You can see that while I'm working, it shows me the real-time result, and let me show you that it says that these tests are all passed, but this one failed and it has a problem, and it says that it expected the result of 1000 but it received 10, and that's good. So let's change this to this, and we say that expect sum of 9 and 1 dot to be 10, and you can see that all of our tests are passed, and this is really good. So let me show you another example. Sometimes you need to use classes, and let's see how we can do this. So let's create a new file named the calc.js and also calc.test.js. And here, let's stop this and close this. Okay, let's say that we created a const calculator equals to require dot slash calc, and let's say that we have a calculator there, and we create a new described, for example, for functionality. And here, let's say that we created a class, so we need to have an instance of it. So we say that const my calc equals to new calculator, and this is it. So let's say that I need to have a test for it. I say that test the calculator should have an add function, and we say that expect the my calculator dot add dot to be defined. Let's see if it's working or not, and let's format this, format document, open a terminal, and this time I will run npm run test, and I say that calc.test.js. Let's see the result, and it says that we have a problem here. What is the problem? Let's see this. Okay, we have one fail, and we say that calculator is not a constructor. So let's first solve this. So we say that this calculator should be imported from this calc function, this calc file from here. So we create, and we say that const calculate. Sorry, this should be a class. So we say this is a class in our JavaScript, and we say module.export equals to this calculator, and now we imported this from here, and I press enter again. You can see that by pressing enter it will run all of our tests again. Let's see what happened here. Okay, now you can see that in the functionality and the calculator should have an add function, we have an error, and it says that expect something to be defined, but it received undefined. Why? Because here we say that expect my calc dot add to be defined, and it seems that we don't have this. So let's create an add here inside of this calculator class, and I press enter again. You can see that my test is passed, and it says that my calc.add is defined right now, and you can see that how great is this Jest framework and how it can help us a lot when we are working with a class also instead of a regular function. Let's have another test here. So let me show you an interesting thing that can shows that you are a professional Jest expert. Inside of this describe, I use another describe, and this is a good idea. You can see that it suggests you can say by pressing tab use this. I say that describe the add function, and let's paste this test inside of this describe. I will format my document, and let me show you that instead of this add I will change this to add, and you can see that this time inside this functionality I have this add function. Let's have another test for this, and I say that you can see that I'm inside of this describe, and I also say that the calculator should this time this is a little different. This label, it says that my calc dot add of the, for example, let's say 2 and 3 should return, let's say 5, and we say that expect my calc.add with the input of 2 and 3 dot to be the 5, and this is it. Let's format document, and pressing enter sees that okay, this time you can see that here it is passed. The calculator should have an add function, but my calc.add 2 and 3 should return 5. You can see that this is the label I'm using here, and this is the importance of this label, which should be clear and self descriptive. So let's see how we can solve this. It says that it expected 5 but received undefined. Let's pass this test inside of this add. I say that this add has the A and B as its input, and it will return A plus B, and here I say format document. So let's press enter again. You can see that now it is passed, and it's really good. And we have these two tests here. Let's have another test, but let me show you a simple refactor that helps our code to be more readable, and I think it has good benefits in interview session. Let's say const fn result, or add result is better, equals to my calculator of add of 2 and 3, and here we say that add result. You can see that this is more readable, and in the first line we calculate the result, and then we expect it to be 5, and you can see that it is passed, and this is a much more better idea. So let's have another test. For example, calculate of 3 and 3 to be 6, and calculator of 3 and 3 dot to be 6. Let's see the result. Okay, that's good. Now I need to create another describe. Let me minimize this to show you. After this describes, which will end here, I create a new describe, and it should have a label and a callback function. Now I minimize this describe using this arrow here, and I say that this time I want to test sub function. And let me show you again. I copy this because it will save our time, and I say that calculator should have an sub function this time, and I expect my calc.sub to be defined. Let me show you the terminal, and I press enter. Okay, now let's see what is the great benefits of using describes. You can see that we have functionality. Inside of this functionality we have add function and sub functions, and you can see that this is a really good idea. So inside of this add function anything is okay and passed, but inside of sub function we have this test which is failed. It says calculator should have and sub functions. Let's handle this. Inside of this class I add a new property which is sub, and it is an arrow function. I press enter again, and you can see that it is passed, and this is really good. Let's have another test here. For example, I will copy both of these because first let's press document, okay, format document. I will copy these and I will change them because you are now familiar with the overall process, and it is just a simple changes. Let's say, okay, inside of this sub function, the calculator should have a sub function. Expect my calculator sub to be defined. That's good. The next test is my calc.sub of 2 and 3, but let's say I have 5 and 1 should return of 4, and I say that my calc.sub of 4 and 1 should return, sorry, 5 and 1 should return 4. The next thing is my calc dot sub of 3 and 3 should return 0, and the result of my calc dot sub of 3 and 3 should return 0. Now let's see the tests, and I press format document. Let's open our terminal again. and see the results, and I press enter here. Now it is really interesting, and you can see the results in this part. You can see that inside of add function anything is okay, we don't working with them, but inside of sub functions we have two tests which are failed. My calc.sub, you can say it is my flag, it's a typo and not problem, but I will solve this. And where we have flag control D, you can know that in control D in VS Code helps you have multiple cursors. I press control V, so all of them are my calc, and okay, that's it. Let's open our terminal again and press enter. Now the labels is good. Okay, you can see that my calc.sub of 5 and 1 should return 4 and 3 should return 0 are not working. Let's work on them. And here, this is the problem. So we say that A and B is our input, and inside of the body of this sub function, we can say return A minus B. And let's press enter here. Now you can see that all of them are passed, and this is really good. Let's have another test here to see if this is really working or not. I will minimize this and minimize this. You can see that inside of this functionality I have two another describes, and this is good. So here let me copy this so quickly. I say my calc.sub of, for example, 4 and 8. What is the result? 4 minus 8. It should be minus 4. So let me show you in a calculator. I say 4 minus 8. The result should be minus 4. So it should return this. And I say my calc.sub of 4 and 8. And the result should be minus 4. We can now check this inside of this terminal. I press enter, and you can see that it is passing, and it is really good. So you can now trust to your codes, and this is, in my opinion, a really good way to show the interviewer your abilities to test your codes. In this video, I used just a calculator class and just a simple sum, and you can see that you can have another functionalities like multiply, like for example, let's say divisions, and a lot of cool features inside this calculator. And in its test, you can use some tests and test all of them. And this is really a good idea to use the Jest framework inside of your next interviews. I hope this video helps you. And before finishing, let me show you another thing. A lot of codes I have here. I have also another YouTube playlist, and you can see that this is the playlist link here inside of this repository, and there are a lot of codes and there are a lot of videos about them. Any of them has a video inside of my channel. You can see all of them, and even if you are interested in participating in this repository, you can send some pull requests or some issues. And also, if you are interested in any sort of algorithm tasks, you can send them to me, and we can add them inside this repository and solve them together. And also, you can see that, for example, array factorial with exception, you can see that the test file is here. A lot of file codes are here, and also the codes are here. And this is, for example, the factorial, and this is the array factorial with exceptions, and there are a lot of examples here that can help you a lot. That's it for this video. By using Jest in your interview preparation, you can ensure that your code is error-free and that you can easily demonstrate your coding skills to the interviewer. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Goodbye.